Hello, and welcome to the Redundancy Matters podcast, helping compassionate HR professionals managing redundancies who want to put people at the heart of the process. I'm your host, June Hogan, a qualified career coach, an outplacement specialist with a background in HR, and founder of outplacement services provider Wildwood Coaching. In this podcast, I'll be sharing my insights and experience from being on both sides of the redundancy table and from my years of experience supporting individuals after redundancy through outplacement support. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Redundancy Matters podcast. I'm June Hogan. I'm a career coach and outplacement specialist with a background in HR. And today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the things that you can do as a HR professional managing redundancies to help those colleagues who are potentially impacted by the restructure. So those colleagues who are at risk, helping them to make the most of the consultation period. Now, consultation periods can vary in length depending on the nature, the size, the scope of the redundancy exercise. So whatever the length of the consultation period is, there are still things that individuals can do to make the most of that time. Now, in my HR experience of managing redundancies, I've seen people who have literally worked all the way through their consultation period, given no thought to what they're going to do next, because that was their way of coping. They just wanted to crack on with the work. They were people who were particularly diligent, conscientious, committed to the company. And in some ways, some of my reflections would be that was them being in denial because it was easier to just carry on and pretend things weren't happening, which is completely understandable because denial is one of those emotions that people can experience when they're going through change related to redundancy. I've also seen individuals who have managed the consultation period really well from a personal perspective and really approached it in a logical and structured way and made the most of the time so that there's the balance between obviously continuing to get the job done, particularly in situations where you need to maintain continuity and productivity, and also the balance between then thinking about the future, what does that mean and what can be done during that time. So these are a few things that when you are supporting individuals during a consultation period that I would recommend that you bring their attention to, because if they've not faced redundancy before, it can be a worrying time. And for many people, they're lost, don't know what to do during that consultation period. So depending on where they are on the change curve, depending on how they feel, here are some things that could be helpful. And this is in no particular order. So fundamentally, the consultation period provides an opportunity to make those lasting impressions. As we all know, it's a small world, and how you leave one organisation will be remembered. People will remember how you left more so than how you joined. And certainly when I was at risk of redundancy for the second time, the way that I handled myself during that consultation period, which was with professionalism, of course, because that's just who I am. That's just what I would never have thought of doing anything differently. But one of the direct reasons for me then being asked back to that organisation a few months later was because of the feedback from the senior team on how I'd handled myself during the consultation period. So this notion of kind of not burning any bridges, and indeed I'm still friends with people from both the organisations that I was made redundant from. So it's important to think about, for individuals to think about how do they want to leave, create those positive lasting impressions with their colleagues. Despite the difficult circumstances, I completely understand the emotion that's involved and how that can take over. But if you can present it to individuals as an opportunity for making those lasting impressions and helping to maintain those relationships that they all have built over the years, to keep those intact as they leave. Thinking about helping individuals with what they might be thinking about doing next. So encouraging people to have an open mind about what the future could hold. This is really difficult to do alone, and this is one of the ways in which outplacement support comes in, because it provides a completely objective and non-judgmental space for individuals to talk about the future and to get some insights and some understanding about their transferable skills. However, if you're not in a position to offer outplacement support, then I just encourage people to try and think about their skills and separate those from their job title. So questions like getting them to think about, what do they enjoy in their role? Maybe they enjoy teamwork. Maybe there's someone that enjoys autonomy. Or maybe they enjoy being creative. Or maybe the thing that they enjoy about the role is that it gives them a great work-life balance, or that it's down the road from their children to school or something like that. So thinking about the things that they really enjoy about what they do, and then asking them to think about those things which kind of drain their energy in their current role. So people might say things like politics or bureaucracy or administration or managing people. And then that can help to give some insights into what they might want to do more of, i.e. the things that they enjoy, and what they might want to do less of, the things that drain their energy. Now, that's just a really simple start to gathering those transferable skills and thinking about the future, but just encouraging people to, if they can, take a step back, think about that kind of personal inventory, if you like, or that personal SWOT analysis, or whatever you want to call it, but really trying to dig deep and understand those transferable skills and how that might inform what they want to do next. Also, helping people to think about their achievements whilst they're still at work. This is a lot easier to do while you're at work than when you've left, particularly if individuals have got access to systems, previous performance reviews, that kind of thing. Achievements is something that's hugely important when we're working with individuals on their CVs. So if they are able to access that information before they leave, then that can be really useful when they are either compiling their CV, potentially during the consultation period, or working with the professional on it. Another thing to encourage people to do is to use the consultation period as an opportunity for networking, both within and outside of the organisation. I appreciate that isn't most people kind of their natural choice. Most people who we work with are afraid of networking, for want of a better word. So people say things like, "Oh, I can't bear the thought of networking. It fills me with dread. I don't know where to start." So that's a whole other kind of episode probably. But thinking about networking relationships during the consultation period, and people who are within the organisation, encouraging them to reach out to their line manager, their peers, maybe customers, maybe suppliers if that's appropriate, and just to let people know the current situation and use that as an opportunity maybe to ask for their advice in terms of, I'm moving on, we've worked together for a while, is there anything that you think I'd be particularly suited to? What type of role do you think I would thrive in? Those sorts of questions, maybe using it as an opportunity to ask for introductions to other people, or just to make those connections and ensure that those connections continue after they've left. Another opportunity during the consultation period is to ask for feedback. This is hugely important, again, when we are working with individuals, helping them with their CV or helping to prepare them for interviews, or just helping them with navigating redundancy and thinking about their confidence as a result of what's happened. Using this time to ask others for feedback. And when you ask for feedback, often people will need a bit of structure. They'll need a bit of guidance rather than, "Oh, could you give me some feedback? I'm really interested to hear what you think about me." So some questions like, what do you value most about me? What's it like to work with me? What type of role do you think I could thrive in the future? And again, those feedback conversations are a form of networking in themselves. Another opportunity is to ask people to think about LinkedIn recommendations. Some of the colleagues at risk may or may not be on LinkedIn. For those that are, this is a time when they can start to think about their LinkedIn profile. And that's something that we work with individuals on in a lot of detail. But LinkedIn recommendations are really powerful. So getting them to have that on their radar. And importantly, during the consultation period, making sure that they seek clarification. Because in my experience, people tend to think the only time that they can ask questions is during the consultation meetings. which of course is, as we know, is not the case. So making sure people understand that they can ask questions of you as the HR professional. They can ask questions of their line manager, of their representative. And if there's anything on their mind, it's really important that they use this time to get that clarification that they need. And one other thing that can be helpful is to find a buddy. So either somebody who is going through the same thing, somebody who's also impacted by the restructure, or it could be somebody outside of work. But really encouraging people to think about accessing support, accessing a place that they can go to just offload and to talk to someone else who may be going through the same thing, or maybe they found someone externally who's been through something like this before. It can really be a great source of support. And particularly after they've left, if they are buddying up with somebody who was also impacted, then it can be a great way to encourage accountability and to share ideas. And again, just provide that connection and that opportunity to talk things through and not feel quite so alone and isolated. So those are just a few things to encourage people at risk of redundancy to think about the consultation period in a balanced way, and to think about the consultation period as an opportunity to start to think about the future, to build those relationships, to leave well, and to make sure that they make the most of the time. And of course, that is balanced with still having to continue with the day job where appropriate, and balance with whatever you as an organisation have come up with as reasonable time off to look for work during the consultation period. So something that you need to clarify as part of the consultation meetings, and to make sure that people are really clear on what that means and how that actually works in practice. So I hope that episode was helpful. If you want to dive deeper into all things redundancy, I'll put a link in the show notes to a free monthly 1-hour lunch and learn that I run with one of my colleagues. It's a safe space to come with redundancy related questions, and each month we dive into a different topic. So it'd be lovely to see you there. Thank you so much for listening to the Redundancy Matters podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful. It would mean a lot to me if you would follow, rate and review this podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, as this helps it reach more people who are managing redundancies. Let me know what you thought, and if you have ideas for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on LinkedIn, June Hogan, and get in touch via my website, wildwoodcoaching.co.uk, where you'll also find more resources to help you manage redundancies. I hope you'll join me again soon for the next episode of Redundancy Matters.